Well, there's a reason that 8 of the last 10 world records in the men's marathon have happened in Berlin. This course is set up to be run at a fast pace.
It is the fastest course in the world. Athletes have flocked here this year. I was talking with race director Mark Milda, and he said this year, because of the Olympic Games standards, he's had more professional athlete requests than ever in history, and he accommodated over 100 more than usual for elites and what are considered sub-elites in this field today, looking to chase those Olympic Games standards, 2:11:30 for the men and 2:29:30 for the women. This is certainly the place to do it. Lab-like conditions in Berlin, the most consistent weather anywhere at the World Marathon Majors.
And such an iconic finish as they pass through the Brandenburg Gate. We'll talk about some of the iconic spots along the course in a moment, but let's turn our attention to those who will be running through those gates, at least first, as part of these large contingents of runners. The notable starters, very much an Ethiopian story here on both the men's and women's side.
Certainly, and juxtapose this field with what happened to the Ethiopian women at the World Championships, with all of them dropping out of the field. We take a look at the notable starters on the men's side. BEKELE, of course, and then a trio of his compatriots from Ethiopia. Very, very stacked field. And we have Kandi and Korir heading the charge for the Kenyans.
And Michael Mueller, the mayor of Berlin, gets things underway here in 2019 as the runners hit the course, marking the end of Series 12 of the Abbott World Marathon Majors. They'll start all over again with Series 13 in Chicago in early October as they rotate the beginning and end of the series to the next marathon in the sequence. And as we look out on the course, you know, Josh, this is a race where the men and women start at the same time. There are pacers, but there are a lot of individual pacers as well, helping individual athletes look for individual times.
We are nearing the 5-kilometer mark. We'll see how these pacemakers did.
And BEKELE is still that lead elite runner behind those 3 pace setters as they will close in here shortly on the 5K split. And since his personal best in Berlin in 2016, he's only completed 2 of the 5 marathon he's been in. So he's trying to get into a rhythm again as the runners come through now. That first 5K in 14:24. So as we saw, the lead runners kind of spreading out pretty quickly because that was a pretty swift first 5K for the lead pack, but still among the best marathoners in the world. But this group that is a lead group is now just 5 men behind those 3 pace setters. And as we expected, it was going to be much more an Ethiopian storyline. As you look at some of the splits coming through the last few kilometers. As we pass the 21.5-minute mark of this race. Record-setting efforts, given what Eliud Kipchoge did last year in setting the world record at 2:01:39, but it still has been a very quick start to the race. They should be coming up to the 10K here as they go over the mats. And there is the updated splits. 10K, Sese Lema, Legesse, Korir, BEKELE, and Gebre Selassie. 4 Ethiopians and a Kenyan on a 2:02 pace right now, early on in Berlin. And Josh, on this women's side of the race, the ability to run again with some of these elite men serves an important purpose for those coming here, not just a race to win, but just a race to run fast.
Absolutely, and there is strength in the pack. And when you have a large group like this, you can tuck yourself away, get on the back of it. This is an amazing pack. It was by design that the organizers have this mixed start with the fast course because they know athletes are going to want to come here run fast. And if they can have their own personal pacemakers that they've brought in, a lot of times it's their own training partner that they'll have all the way through their build-up here with them.
So he hit 10K and immediately populates the splits there. You get a chance to see who's in that league group. The 4 Ethiopians behind the 2 Kenyans in Chirono and Sally Chepyego.
And check that out, 286 and 74, close to 47,000 this year. As you mentioned, the further you get back in the waves, the more loose it gets, the more fun they have.
Well, as they get every step closer to the finish line, the crowds get bigger. Probably adds to the tension of the moment. Decisions to be made here.
And in the men's race, at this point, it was a race against the clock. Now, we have a real foot race between these 2 women. Will Dababa be able to get away? She's trying. But she's not able to find that big gear.
Dababa unable to shake BEKELE now as they move into the final stages of this Berlin Marathon. Dababa, slight looks left and right. Doesn't want to get surprised by any sudden move.
And Dababa's doing a little bit of a weave there, basically saying, hey, get off my shoulder. You see her? It's back and forth. We have a great shot of the motorcycle. There they are. And Dababa doesn't like BEKELE there, but this is exactly what she was doing to her for all those miles as they come upon the home stretch.
And you see now BEKELE now making the move as they will come into the shadows of the Brandenburg Gate. And now the finish line in sight. As Josh mentioned, it was a race against the clock on the men's side. This is a head-to-head race for the Berlin Marathon title on the women's side in 2019. BEKELE with a slight advantage.
BEKELE with the big move, trying to drop Dababa, but Dababa responded. Now the question is, there she goes. She's trying to go into this last gear. She's trying to get away, and they have some traffic. They're shifting into this final gear. BEKELE making her way around the men. And Dababa is out the back. BEKELE found that last gear, and she's on her way.
We'll have a new champion on the women's side in 2019, and that will be Chete BEKELE of Ethiopia. Dababa will settle for second, and the celebration is on as the Ethiopians sweep the men's and women's elite race here in Berlin. And once he had the lead, he did look back at least a couple of times, but the focus was not necessarily on the race behind him. It was the race ahead of him to try to get to the finish line faster than any other man has ever done in the history of the sport. It happened a year ago with a 39 on the clock, 2 hours and 1 second. You see that 39 turn into 40, and then officially 41. BEKELE now the second fastest marathoner in history in a time that, quite honestly, a year ago going into this race would have seemed incomprehensible. Now we have 2 men under that 2:02 barrier. Phenomenal racing here in Berlin. Chance to reflect more on what we've witnessed in just a moment.